Okay, another thing that I want to discuss is now we want to discuss is how to extract the value from the response and how to pass that value to the next request. We do know how to pass the value in the requests, the values that we have defined in the request, but now we will see how to extract the value from the response. When I say from the response, I mean how to extract the value from this specific response body and then pass it to the next request. For example, like right now it's request 1, and the request 1 has this test is equals to 1 2 3, correct? So we're gonna extract this 1 2 3 and then pass it where we see 1 2 3 here. Okay, we will not hard code it 1 2 3 here, but we will extract in request 1 and we'll send it in request 2, because we know this is a sequential. So request is going 1 is going to be called before request 2, and we will get the request 2's request data from the response of request 1. Let's do that. For simplicity, I'm going to change it to 1. I'm going to change this to 1 as well. Now save it. Okay, for this one, there is a concept called processors, which is pre-processor is before the request, as pre means before. Post processor means after the request. Pre-request, before the request. Post, after the request. Over here we are going to use after the request, because request is fired first and then we get the response. So the post processor. Since our response was in JSON, so let's do the JSON extractor. Okay, so now we have a JSON extractor. Save it. Now we know like that the response that we want to extract is this test and this specific value, which is 1 2 3. Okay, so how to do the extraction? It's pretty simple. First, take the JSON response, just go to JSON formatter or pretty JSON. Okay, now we can see this is the value that we want to extract, and now it makes a little bit nice to see. Over here it was all chunky, but over here we can see everything is in more readable format. First we can see it starts with the curly braces, and the very first key that we see is arguments, arg, and within the arguments the very first key that we see is the test, and then it has the value. Okay, so let's just do a quick Google search how to okay, $, author, store all things but books. Got it. Okay, first of all, when we are extracting, we have to give the variable name, the name that we want to name the variable. So let's just name it as sample variable. So now we have to give the JSON path expression. When it says JSON path expression, over here we see the test exists within ARGS arguments, and this is the very first occurrence of argument within this JSON data. So what it will do is it will go to arguments, and then we will tell within the arguments go to test and get that specific value. Okay, now before we do anything, we have to try it. So the way we can try it, we again come to the result tree, and over here you will see all these options under this drop down, and over here you can test it. So let's test the JSON path tester. So we have this JSON. So now we want to test it. Start off with $, and then say dot args. Now let's see what exactly will this tell us. Okay, so it tells us, this arg tells us that the value of this args is, this is the whole value of this arg. Okay, so this is the value of arg. Let's say if I were to put headers, what would be the value of these headers? It will be the value that is within these curly braces. Okay, so see, the value of that is within the curly braces. So similarly, it's going to be for this one as well. But in our case, it is args, and within args, it is test. Okay, so let's get to args. Let's test it again. Okay, within args, this is. But now we want to go to test. So how we can do? You can say dot test. Now it is going to go to test. See, now we can see it is extracting 1, 2, 3, the specific value that we were looking for. Okay, now we're gonna have this expression. We're gonna copy this expression and put it right here where it says JSON path expression. Okay, save it. If we want to give some kind of default value, we can. If we want to match the numbers, so there could be a time where there are more than one test occurrence. Okay, so then there's going to be a number which is going to be given here. 0 means first occurrence. Everything in JMeter starts with 0. 0 means 1, 1 means 2, 2 means 3, 3 means 4. Okay, so now we're gonna run it again. Okay, so we know that it has been extracted, but how will we know that if it has been extracted? So we have given this name to this variable, right? So now let's pass this name here. So just like before, we have to start with $, and start with curly braces, end with curly braces. Within the curly braces, there is going to be a variable sign, a variable name. fire it one more time. Let's go to text. Let's go to request. Okay, now over here we can see that we are passing 1, 2, 3, even though over here we are just passing the sample variables. Okay, we can try it one more time just to be 100%. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is pretty simple. So similarly, we have different processors, which we have post processors, n number of post processors here. Either we can do it by XPath, usually that is for UI. We can do the JDBC post processor. We can do regular expression extractor as well, which is a pretty simple one as well. It just takes a small expression just like JSON. We have a CSS selector extractor as well, which is pretty much used for the UI stuff as well. Then we have a bean shell post processor. In case if any of these doesn't work, 99% of the times one of these will work, or 90% of the times you guys will be able to do it with JSON or regular expression. But in case if it doesn't work, then we have to write a small shell script for that. Okay, moving on. Now we'll be looking into what exactly are headers. Over here you will see that requests sometimes do have headers. So example over here, these are the default headers that are been sent with that specific request, but instead of having a default, we will create these headers and we'll send it with all the requests. How do we do it? We go to the request and we go to the config elements and we create a headers manager. Within the header manager, we add the headers that we want to use. In our case, let's just use the same ones. Usually whenever you have any request with you, you guys will be provided with the headers, or you can ask the team if there are any headers that has to be sent along with the request. So let's just do this specific header for this specific request, and once you put in the headers, let's try it one more time. Now you will see it is sending the headers again. So pretty much over here we can put, if we want to make headers generic, we can bring it up on the top. And so what it will do is, so this will have a generic header for all the requests within this test plan. Okay, so let's see that in action. We bring the headers out. Yeah, we brought it. Okay, over here we can see the connection. Over here we can see the connection as well. So we got the headers, which is generic to all. If we do not want to make it generic, we can just push it in one specific request, whatever needs whatever. So in that way we can be 100% that it will just be for that specific request. Request, headers.